All right, ready. Hey, I'm going to make a quick video here on my experience at replacing the ignition lock on a 2010 Tacoma. It's a TRD version. I recently purchased this truck for my parents as just a vehicle to, take trash to the dump, or they bought a new piece of furniture or whatever, need to get it home. Truck's actually excellent condition. It was a one-owner truck, always serviced at a dealership. Had 200,000 miles on it, but if you know anything about Toyotas and their motors, they'll run forever. And I went over it with a fine-tooth comb, and like I said, the truck is actually perfect. But my mother called me up this past weekend and said that when she'd go to try to start it, it would stick, like it wouldn't turn. And immediately that could be a couple different things. It could be the keys are worn down, or the tumblers inside the lock are worn down. So luckily we had both sets of actual keys plus the vanity key, valet key, and all of them had the same issue. And when I went up to look at them, you could see the keys were completely fine. So that typically means that the tumblers inside the lock are worn down, and it can become a real problem if it gets to the point where you can't turn it at all. Because if any of you know, to replace the lock, which I have the old lock right here, just to kind of as a demonstration. So this is the old lock set. That's all it is to it. To get this out, you would have to put the key on accessory, and then there's a button right here. And once you have it on accessory, you can push this button. Obviously, I don't have the keys with me, but if you do, you turn it and this button can deactivate. And I watched a few videos on replacing these, and basically in the videos it just shows after you pull the plastic off underneath the dash, it's all pretty easy. Most of it's just popped out rivets, a couple 10 millimeter bolts, a couple screws around the steering wheel, and it all just kind of falls off. Real easy to get off. But in every video I watched, you put the key on accessory, and then usually underneath of the lock you have an opening into the casing, the metal casing that holds this lock in, and you take something sharp, push it up, and you just, with the key obviously in the accessory mode, it doesn't pull out. The whole lock set would pull out. Well, not in my model of 2010. I don't know if it's just a TRD thing or I don't know, but every other Tacoma, this lock set just slid right out. Well, in mine, push the button in, it would only come out about 1/4 of an inch, and then it just stopped. It felt like it was hitting metal. So I went back on, did some research. I couldn't find anything on it. Well, finally, I figured it out. The TRD has 2 different openings. The first opening depresses this. When you depress this button, it'll come out about 1/4 inch. And this actually, the opening on the TRD, I can only speak to the TRD because, and the 2010 Tacoma TRD is because that's all I have. But the button, the opening is actually on the side of this column. It's not underneath. So the first opening is on the side, just like this. Push in, it comes out about 1/4 of an inch. And then there's a second opening underneath, very small open, and you push on that, and that allows the rest of the lock set to pull out. So hopefully if you run into these issues, you can find this video somewhere that gets the lock out. Now here's problem number 2. I ordered an aftermarket lock from this is Lock Smart right here, and if you have this model, that's, well, there we go, Lock Smart. This is the one that you need. Well, there's also a ring that's plugged in that pops on top of this. At first I thought it was just a lighted ring, just illuminates where the key opening is. Oh no, this is an engine immobilization system, and that ring has to be firmly locked on top of this lock set. And because I'll just tell you what I did. I put the new lock set in, put the ring on top of it, put the new key in, and went to start it up, and all you heard was rant, 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 rant. So basically it'll turn over, but with this immobilization system, it does not allow gas to get to the fuel injection system. So basically you're just sitting there just turning this thing, but the engine's not getting gas. So I did some more research, and I'm like, maybe I need to buy the Toyota keys and the lock set. Now this is like $243 for this lock, aftermarket one. The dealership ones were like close to 400 bucks. Well, to make a long story short, what ended up having to be done was I had to call a locksmith to come out and program my new keys to the truck. It has nothing to do with the lock set. It has to do with that key ring, or the immobilization, engine immobilization ring that pops on top of this. That new key that went with the lock set had to be programmed to be able to mate up with that ring. And once the keys were programmed to that ring, it would start up. It literally took the guy 3 minutes to program those keys. You can take it to the dealership. It's going to cost you a lot more. So hopefully that helps you all out. So basically, just to summarize, if you have a TRD, I'm assuming it's just for TRD. It might be for other models, upper end trim levels, but there are 2 different openings that you need to, you got to do them sequentially. So this is the lock right here, and it's in the ignition. The opening is on the right hand side. You're going to push that in. It's going to come out about 1/4 inch. Then there's another opening underneath while you're still pulling on this, because it'll suck back in, pop back in. So then the second opening from the bottom, this will pop out. And once you do that, you got to call a locksmith to come out to your house. He's got to program those new keys to your vehicle so that it'll start, because that engine immobilization system. So learn from my mistakes. It could literally be a 30-minute job, with then having the locksmith come. It's like another 5 minutes. So hope that helps if you find this video, and I'll catch you next time. Later.